Hey, thanks for tuning in. We are LivingFit, your trainer's trainer. We not only have education courses for trainers to upgrade their game, but we have full-on follow-along programs, workouts, exercise breakdowns, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for you to reach your fitness goals. Now, enjoy the show.
Welcome to Living Fit. This is Marcus.
And Aaron.
That's my favorite intro. But we've got the amazing Venus Lau here. She is an incredible mover, an incredible coach, an incredible athlete. She has so much quality information online, just a wealth of knowledge and hilarious tequila connoisseur. What else am I missing? She was doing the drinking symbol before I even said that. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, we'll go from the start. I grew up as an athlete. I was a really shy kid, and body language and movement was the best way for me to express myself. Definitely not shy anymore, but that came with acquiring more knowledge and moving differently and learning how to really express my body. But all in all, I started as a kid who loved to move. And I played a multitude of sports. My main sports growing up was swimming, soccer, and golf. And I played other sports as well, like volleyball and all those other sports you play as a kid. But really, those were the three that I really loved. And then as I got older, swimming and golf were really the main ones. And then I tapered off swimming to focus on golf. And I played D1 golf for Baylor University. And it was great. It really was amazing, but then I went through a period of time of my life where both my parents passed away from cancer. And my dad first was diagnosed when I was in college, and it really did affect my game because mentally you're just not in that right state of mind. Anyhow, so my release from that was I started writing comedy, and I actually moved out to LA to be a comedy writer. Being a trainer was not in my thoughts of my career path until I started doing more learning and I started falling in love with what I did, and then it became a passion. And that's about it. I mean, I've been a trainer since 2007 and here I am, and I just love to continually learn and be a student. And then I like to put together the greatest hits of what I learned, put it together and share that.
Well, so you talk about you ended up specializing in golf, right? And I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons for that, but right. So to get better, we kind of have to specialize. But if we hyper specialize, that can actually be to our demise, right? So and this is something that I absolutely adore about your practice is that you don't hyper specialize. And if we want to just talk about human movement generally, right? You're not hypermobile, or you're not hyper strong, or it's not these hyper specializations. It's this ability to be able to have strength while having mobility, which gives you this high level of coordination, and now you just move, you do incredibly difficult things in this incredibly graceful way. So how did you get there, right? So you're coming from golf, you're coming from comedy, and then now you're this incredible mover. What are all the things that took place?
I like to call it athleticism. So I think when we're talking about being hyper specialized in things, the best athletes in the world usually do 4 other sports. And they have multiple coaches, from their mind coach to their body coach to someone who works with them with their mobility and their flexibility and all those things. And I think that's really important. Whether you're an athlete or an everyday workouter, it's important to be really well-rounded. And I think that a lot of times people will drink the Kool-Aid when they take, new coaches will drink the Kool-Aid when they take a new certification and be like, this is it, and this is the way it's done, and it's only done this way, and there's no exploration. And at the end of the day, humans, we're meant to move in all these different directions and all these different ways because we're supposed to be able to do it. But for some reason, we live in this box of the fitness world box that, no, this is the right way to squat. This is the right way to deadlift. This is the right way to overhead press. But it's like, if our bodies weren't able to do even what we consider compensations, then we wouldn't do them. The body's literally meant to do everything. So if we look at movement at a developmental movement standpoint, right? You go back into, being in the womb, where our bodies, like before we were babies and we're in our mother's womb, we grew in a place of darkness and also liquid, like fluidity. And then if you go into more of the developmental science, of course, then we learned that, when you're babies, you learn how to creep, you learn how to crawl, you learn how to roll, you learn how to just keep your head and your spine upright before we can stand up and walk. And so those are things that I think a lot of people miss out on, especially in such a society. We're always in front of our screens and our phones and, our tablets, and there's not enough even simply walking that people do. So to go back to what you were saying, I love to teach people how to start at a very fundamental level, even before we're talking about the 8, 9, 10, or whatever they want to call it, patterns of movement: push, pull, hinge, squat, carry, hang, all those things. So even before that, it's like people are missing out on the developmental stuff that actually gets their mind and their body connected before they move.
What was the bridge that got you into the movement? I mean, I'm assuming you learned things in a more traditional way, and then just, again, if you've ever seen her Instagram or any of the content she puts out, she moves, like Aaron said, so gracefully in ways that you're like, okay, I can't do that. Like, what got you to that point? Like, what was the bridge from traditional training into
Did you
this?
always move perfect?
Did you always just say, were you just a 12-year-old flowing? Your parents like, dude, Venus, chill. What are you doing?
No, I actually had 2 left feet. It was so hard for me to learn patterns and coordination for a really long time, unless it was something I was always doing, like golf or swimming. Like, if it was a pattern I already knew, I could do it. But if I didn't, I actually consider myself a very slow learner. And because I want to take in all the details. And I think that's the thing that people are missing, is that patience. So how I got into it was after being an athlete and having a lot of compromised issues. I had back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. Golf is a one-sided sport. You swing right to left thousands of times a day. And I played golf competitively for 10 years. So there's a lot of imbalances that I have. And so I went from that to learning, strength training at a very traditional place. But then I felt like something was missing. I always felt like something was missing. I was like, I feel strong, I feel good, that's great. But there's something else that's missing in this, and I started to realize what it was after I found flow, yoga, breath work, understanding what developmental movement is. And I got to that place by humbling myself and being like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the basics of patterns of rolling, patterns of crawling. Can I do isometric holds? Do I understand total body tension? And then applying all those things into every other type of working out or exercise style that I could do. And it's simpler than I'm probably making it sound, but it's like when I put my hands on the ground, my brain now is trained to go, what do I feel? And I think a lot of times people aren't thinking, what do I feel under my hands? They're thinking, oh, is this the right place to put them? Versus, does this feel right? If it feels right, it'll look right. That's kind of one of the things I'm always telling my students. Versus, they'll be like, is this proper form? Like, if you can feel it, if you can feel your glutes turn on, can you feel your foundation? If you're standing up, that's your feet. Do you feel your feet feel grounded, or are they wobbly? And sometimes, whether it's flow or kettlebells or just general weightlifting, I watch what's touching the ground first. And if their feet are wobbly, I fix that first, and it usually fixes everything else on top.
Wow. Just digesting that. I love that. And going back to what you said about how patient you are and meticulous, you came through one of my courses, and I trained a lot of people. You were so hyper-focused on every nuance of every movement, position. I've never seen anybody like, no, it was awesome, because just watching you learn inspired me even to teach with more detail, to move with more intention. And that was a turning point with my own training, was just watching you take in that information and be so meticulous with that.
You never told me that before.
Well, here you go. Now I can't build you up too much. Yeah.
Well, so something that you said, right, and it's specifically like the isometric, can I create full body tension? And you did things in isometrics or whatever. And what's hilarious about that is I've done some moving work with you, and you did a lot of pauses and a lot of really slow stuff. And the hilarious part to me is then I teach an isometric portion in my battle ropes course, and I know he teaches some isometric stuff, but then I ventured into his kettlebell origins, and there was a lot of isometrics, and it was like almost like I've forgotten the benefit, even though I teach it and I know the importance of it, even though I've heard it from you and realized the importance of it, even though I've heard it from you, but it was like doing it, like, oh dang, like what you're saying. It's like, instead of like, oh, you teach, it's like, oh, put your hand here, but then you're doing it and you're like, oh, does that feel right? And
I love that.
So was there any particular book or is it just like digesting a whole bunch of these nuance? Because I know you've taken a ton of coursework or whatever, and then sort of doling out your version of it, or is it experiential, or is it a little bit of everything?
It's a little bit of everything. It's like you said, even though we teach this stuff, we forget too. I forget my own advice all the time, which is why I like having friends like you guys to remind me. You remind me of isometrics, even though I teach it too. So coaches need coaches. And I think that's also really important. And also just experiential with clients and students. I watch them move and I'm like, oh, like I guess you do it for so long. It's no longer, I don't really look for form as much per se as do they have stability? Because stability grants mobility. Stability grants your brain and your body and your nervous system to access power. It grants you, loss of pain signals because now you're no longer afraid.
Yeah, I feel like you need to say that again, because that's one of those, if nobody wrote that down, she's going to say it again, and you need to write this down.
Okay, so I can't pigeonhole you as a blank. You do so many things so well. But I'm about to pigeonhole you. You knew where I was going. No, but one thing that does come up a lot in our conversations and just with what I've seen, a lot of what you post, you are a very good mover. You flow very well. And flow has morphed into all kinds of things. We get all kinds of interpretations of it. But what would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions of flow, of moving in a kind of organic, free range type of way?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a misconception. I think it's just it's a pigeonhole of flow.
What are some misconceptions? What do you think some misconceptions are?
They think it's easy. They think it's just mobility. They think it's a warm up. They just say people in general, or they're like, oh, I can't get lean from flow. I can't get strong. This is just. They think of it as just moving, and you can use it for that. Absolutely. If you're injured and you're recovering something, absolutely, you can use flow in a very easy way. But no one is stronger than the floor. So if you're doing a body weight exercises and you have the floor, no one's stronger than the floor. You can make it more intense. You can turn it up to a medium or a high intensity thing. I mean, you look at gymnasts and they're super buff and so strong and so mobile because they understand how to create that total body tension, that connection, and feel safe doing really difficult feats. So I think the biggest misconception is that flow is only for decompression, which it's great for decompression, but it can also add a lot of intensity depending on, if you're doing a power flow versus a relaxing meditation flow, or if you're doing a strength flow where you're combining it, or you combine it with kettlebells, or you can combine it with battle ropes, you can combine it with resistance bands. It's really endless. To me, flow is just a way of movement. And our eyes are naturally attracted to athletes, dancers, artists, people in general who exude flow, whether it's like a heavy weightlifter or just, a light, flexible dancer or yogi.
Yeah, and flow goes beyond just flow-like movement. I mean, it's also this mind state, right, that you get into because you're moving so well or you're so intent on the movements that you're doing. So what have been some of the carryovers for you specifically with flow and specifically with body weight flow, carryovers into any aspect and area of your life?
I want to say the most basic thing that I think everyone should know is that most people don't enjoy doing the boring mobility exercises. And so you're getting in active mobility, which is what I'd say 99% of people need. Even if someone who is mobile or they consider themselves mobile, they're usually just really flexible, but they don't have control of those ranges of motion. And so if anything, the biggest carryover has been being able to, again, connect to my nervous system, connect to my breath, and create stabilization so I can find more power and more tension in my tissues to generate strength. And so, at the end of the day, that it's just the carryover is really, it helps everything. So if you're a professional athlete, if you're just an everyday workouter, if you're recovering from injury, flow is something that 100% will help people. Is it the only thing people should do? Absolutely not. I think it's really important to do all kinds of exercises, but it's kind of like when you're having your diet, you need your protein, your carbs, and your fats. I think some people focus so much on the protein, but they forget about the carbs and the fats. And so the same thing with like flow and strength, right? It's all encompassing.
Have there been any way outside of the fitness realm stuff, like whether it's relational or communication or just anything kind of like that's different than just helping you be a better mover that you have found with flow and specifically body weight flow?
Well, flow is adaptability. So I'm going to actually combine that question with the last question. So it's like, because you're putting your body at so many different positions and so many angles, I'm now able to learn a new exercise a lot quicker because my body understands how to find stability at that weird, odd angle. Or how many times do people, they're at home and they bend over to pick something up and their back goes out and they're like, I didn't even do anything. I work out all the time, but for some reason my neck, I pulled my neck or I pulled my back. And it's just because they're not used to being at those angles. So what flow does is it teaches us a lot of angles that we actually are in our daily life. We don't squat to pick up our keys in a perfect neutral spine, right? So that's what I love about flow. And then your second question.
Yeah, so just outside of even the fitness realm.
Outside of the fitness realm,
and
yeah.
You talk about adaptability.
Right. Adaptability is really, truly there also in the mind. Like I feel like I'm able to adapt to a lot of situations where I feel like before I started doing this kind of practice, I would stress out a lot more. Or I'd be like, I wanted to go back to what made me feel safe. What was my patterns and how I live life? What are my patterns and how I do movement? And because of this, I'm able to go, okay, I'm adaptable. Let's figure out how to make this work with what I have. And that's what flow is about essentially. If we want to talk about the fitness realm, it's going to get you stronger, more mobile, help you understand your body awareness, and give you more adaptability. But how you do one thing is how you do everything. What you do in your fitness life is going to carry over to what you do in your normal daily life.
Yeah. I love the adaptability. I think that's for me, the biggest takeaway from flow like this. And just like you say all the time, Aaron, having that kind of jazz mentality where you're not just so linearly looking, you're only, set in this box, this is what I'm doing. being able to adapt to the different movements, in your case, adapt to the ground, feel where your position right there. Okay, what am I gonna go to next? On to the next thing, on to the next thing. It almost makes you like a better problem solver, a better critical thinker.
Right, 100%. And I think I really, I'm gonna say, like, I feel like if I didn't start doing a flow practice, I feel like I wouldn't be as intelligent. And not I'm so intelligent, but like my brain, I feel like so smart, guys.
Well, no, it's funny. I mean, it's funny you say that, but I think it's Spark, the book Spark or whatever, and it talks about kids starting to do a movement practice completely changed the grades and the interaction and the engagement in the classroom. Like their test scores all went up, and the only thing that changed was a morning movement practice. Yeah. That was it, right? That small little adjustment.
Same with adults that I've seen too, you know? And they say there's a lot of studies now that are saying that just crawling on the ground, opposite arm, opposite leg, you're firing your left and your right hemispheres of the brain. And so there's all the motor coordination going on. It's helping people with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and such things like that. And even just recovery. Yeah. You know, I don't know how many times I've trained an adult, man or woman, who they don't even know how to throw a ball. And so those are like really simple things that we should be able to do as humans.
That was gonna be my next question. So let's say someone sees your Instagram or sees what you post and like, F that, that's too crazy. I can't do anything like that. Okay. What would be that bridge for them that would get them to go from, I bench, curl, squat, press. How can I start incorporating some of this? Like, what would be that bridge?
Yeah, bench, squirrel, bench, squirrel, bench, squat, press, carry, all those things. Those are great patterns. But and if they want to learn how to move more gracefully, then they get to put away the tools. Because I love tools. I think they're really important. I always say tools are a way to give our body feedback. And you can either use a tool to build something great, or you can use a tool to break something down. And sometimes people will break themselves down overusing their tools over and over again when they could just simplify it. And for like 10, 15 minutes of their workout, put the tools to the side and use your own tool of your body and learning just simple rolling patterns, crawling patterns, any kind of locomotion.
So you say rolling patterns, sorry, going back to that, what do you mean by rolling patterns?
So if I'm rolling on my back, rolling from my back to my front, right? Or whether it's laterally or forwards or backwards, simple rolling patterns. And then also, I always start every single workout and end every single workout with breathwork. It's so important. It's the thing that people always want to skip. But if we're not breathing properly, we're not going to move properly. And it doesn't matter if you're going to lift 300 pounds over your head, or you just want to do a simple 16K kettlebell swing, or you want to just do body weight calisthenics. If you don't have down good breathing patterns, everything else in your system is going to feel like it's on high alert, and the body doesn't feel safe. When it doesn't feel safe, it's not going to perform.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, totally. It's the thing that I want to skip. As a matter of fact, I think I was holding my breath that entire time. No,
Breathe. 5, 4.
So I mean, you already kind of like jabbed at it a little bit, but you talked about, well, that is like how you live fit, right? So what is living fit to you? And not like the brand or whatever, but like just what is that concept? What does that mean to you? Or what is that to you?
Living fit to me is, what can I do on a daily basis to make sure that I'm experiencing joy and growth and satisfaction with myself and in my environment? And so when it comes to exercise, it's a huge space for me to practice that and for me to continually grow, learn, be aware of my body, get stronger. All those elements help us build confidence. And that confidence is what takes us into the rest of our life of like, I am adaptable when I'm under stress. I'm strong. If I got to carry, if I'm moving, I can carry my furniture in and out of the door. If I'm under some stressful situation in a relationship, whether it be business or personal, I'm adaptable to be able to handle it. So to me, that's what living fit is, as well as, can you go out and just enjoy things and experience things and not be resistant? Because I think that is one of the biggest issues I see in all my clients whenever they're trying to problem solve something, even if they're open to the movement. But in general, like, our resistance hold us back.
Yeah, that's so cool. The first time I even thought about this, I would say that the way you move is a representation. The way you move, like if you just look up your Instagram, right, is a pretty damn good representation of how you are in life.
Oh, thanks.
So right, but that's exactly what you were saying, right? It's like, and when you said strong, you're like to be able to move, if you're like moving or whatever. But what I thought of is like, no, you're fluid, but if something's not right or whatever, you're also strong. You're able to stand your ground, right? And I'm like, man, and so it just, I don't know, when you were talking about it put this imprint. I was like, oh yeah, the way she moves is exactly how she is in her personality, her character in life, which is, I mean, it's pretty badass because the way you move is pretty badass.
Thank you. Badass.
Oh, that's awesome. So what would you say is the first step for someone to start getting into this kind of way of being? I mean, you talked about, the patterns, crawling, rolling, but if you say breath work, what is your favorite breath work that you go to that someone can do right now? They're watching this like, all right, I'm stressed out of my mind, Venus. How can I get better? What can I do? What would you say?
I always start a beginner with a box breathing, right? So they're gonna tap a little bit into both their parasympathetic and their sympathetic. So start with like a 4 count, inhale for 4. When you're breathing, focus on breathing through the horizontal 360-degree line. So don't breathe vertically up and down, breathe horizontally. Should we sit it nice and flat, right? And you're gonna inhale for 4, hold for 4 at the top. It's a gentle hold. I think a lot of people, when they first start breath work, they're like,
It's scary.
It's scary, right? You're vulnerable. So you're inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, holding for 4. And just keep it that simple. It is the simplest thing. You just keep it doing over and over again. There's obviously lots of styles of breath work, but if we're talking beginner and I'm talking to the camera here, just that. And then also doing that in different positions. Do it in a squat position. Do it in a plank position. Do it in a downward dog position. Do it in a balance position. And can you get your body to really understand what the breath is like? So when I'm practicing my flow practice, I will hold an end range position and do breath work. Then I go to the next one and I hold an end range position and I do breath work. So I know my body's owning it, and I'm also downloading in my nervous system and in my brain, this is a safe position. So I can get back there really quickly the next time I'm there.
So good. That's baller.
That's a game changer right there. I was already
That's
thinking.
the article right there. That's the article. Man.
That is so well, freaking Venus, you're one of my favorite people. You're one of Aaron's favorite people. I'm speaking for him as well. Appreciate you so much for being on here. Where can people find more information about you and all the amazing things that you do?
I am venusfit.com. My subscription is venusfit.vhx.tv. And then on the Instagrams, I am Venus2BFab. That's the number 2, the letter B, F-A-B. I'm also putting more videos on YouTube. My YouTube name is VenusFit. And if you join my program, or if anyone wants to join my program, you're going to get breath work, mobility, flow, strength training, and even loaded training. Marcus has been a guest coach on my app. I would love to have you as my guest coach on my app.
Well, we'd have to get you on some ropes then.
Scary. It's hard, right? But and I give away 2 free weeks, a 2 free week trial, a free 2-week trial, and 3-year trial. Yeah, 2 weeks for free, and the first month is half off, and it's so people can really experience it. I'm also teaching a live class with my students every single week on Zoom. So you have an opportunity to connect with me live and ask questions. And there's going to be more coming out soon, but the program is designed for someone to go, I want to learn the basics of moving again. I want to humble myself. Or if you're a beginner, I want to start from the foundations and start learning those patterns, become a better breather, get better with my nervous system, and then eventually be able to be an amazing, great mover by the time you've been doing it for 6 months. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much for being on here. It's been another amazing episode of Living Fit. So appreciate you, Aaron, as always. We'll see you on the next episode.
Hey, for more interviews like that, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're looking for not only those interviews, but follow along programs, exercise breakdowns, workouts, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for your fitness results. Make sure you hop on to living.fit, become a member today, and I'll see you on the next one.